Hey YouTube, Joyboy here. So, chapter 842 of One Piece has dropped. So if you haven't checked out that chapter, I suggest you do. I will be spoiling you. And now that you have, let's talk about it. I honestly don't know where to begin. Oh my gosh, this chapter, I wish it was a little bit longer, but still a lot of really cool details. But I think we have to start with the biggest one, which is that Gear 4th does have alternative forms, and there's a lot of really interesting things to talk about when you want to talk about TANKMAN. What the hell is this? He's huge, he's fat, he's got hockey covering his stomach, and Cracker's sword and him sort of got absorbed into the stomach, and then he propelled Cracker out of his stomach like a cannonball. Like, I don't even know. But I'm not here to question it. We just go with it, okay? It happened. TANKMAN, overpowered. I honestly love Gear 4th and the way Oda has chosen to take it. You take pretty much Luffy's strongest form, overpoweredness, and then you just add an element of hilarity with every single form so far. But let's get into the fight versus Cracker. And so, honestly, I think a ton of theories that I believed actually came true in this chapter. Now, as of last chapter, I was wrong at the timing in which Cracker was defeated, but the sequence of events was pretty much exactly what a lot of people were speculating. A lot of people were speculating that in order for Luffy to beat Cracker, he might have to unveil a new form. Some people were speculating Gear 5th. I was not part of that crowd. I was more inclined to believe that he would introduce an alternative form of Gear 4th. And while my ideas were essentially wrong, they were also partly right as well, which is that, you know, it's an alternative form of Gear 4th where it's still Gear 4th. Everything about Gear 4th is the same. The difference seems to be the distribution of the hockey. So whereas before I thought that he would use less hockey and then fill his body with less air, he seemed to fill it with the same amount of air and just change the location of the hockey to create TANKMAN. Another thing I want to bring up is this is TANKMAN full version. So there's possible that there's TANKMAN not full version, which would be like the same location on the hockey, but Luffy just isn't stuffed. And then again, by Luffy naming this TANKMAN full version, it suggests that he already knew how to use TANKMAN, because he knows that there's a non-full version of TANKMAN, which again lines up with something that I said in a theory video, which is that Luffy already knows alternative forms of Gear 4th. In addition to this, there might still be new forms of Gear 4th as well, other than TANKMAN, other than Boundman, still yet to be revealed. So honestly, some of my thoughts in that theory are still viable. But I do wonder why he's holding back on all of these other forms, why he sticks to Boundman more so than his other forms. Perhaps Boundman is the most all-around useful form. In addition to this, it is also true, as I stated in my actual, how Cracker is going to be defeated video, in which Nami did actually help Luffy defeat Cracker, specifically using her rain abilities to weaken the biscuits. This is something that many people believed, and I actually did a complete video talking about. Now, there was 3 ideas in that video, but I said in the video that I believed that the most likely one was that Nami would help him, which happened to be the case. And then on top of that, in that same video, I said that Cracker would be defeated very quickly and that he wouldn't have a lot of endurance, and that also seems to be true. Now, I know that there is some debate as to whether or not Cracker is officially defeated, but based on what I see, I believe that Cracker is defeated. He has the face and look of somebody that was just defeated. Some of the lines that Luffy said at the end are reminiscent of lines of, this fight is now over. And so Cracker, honestly, all it took was one, I guess, cannon shot from TANKMAN in order to finish him off. So that theory now, looking back at it, is pretty much mostly correct. The only element of the fight that I missed was that the fight extended for, 11 hours plus, and that Luffy specifically used the alternative form of Gear 4th, TANKMAN. There's a lot of people in the One Piece community who hate theories, saying that they're a waste of time, but honestly, I'm feeling pretty good right now, guys. Now it's finally time to move on from the seducing woods. But before we do, another theory ended up becoming true as well, which is another thing that I said, which is that Nami now has control over the homies. And there's actually another layer added to this as well, which is that certainly the homies are forced to go under her control in some way due to the Viva card, but according to Cracker, it's of their own volition, like they've chosen this. Despite the fact that they can't actually do anything against Nami, they've also chosen to become her subordinate. And also, there was just some really funny lines as well, which is that, you know, Cracker disrespecting her soldiers, which are the homies. Like, I honestly really love the direction that Oda has taken Nami in this arc. She has this very scary image in which she's sort of taking control of the situation. She's helping out. Really pleased. Now going into the next topic, we have the mirror world. And so a lot of people were asking me in the last chapter, and probably a little bit before then as well, what happened to Brûlé? Because Brûlé, last we saw, was hit by the Thunderbolt tempo, and then she sort of just disappeared. And where could she have gone? And honestly, there was really only one idea that stuck out above any other, which is that, well, it seems like the only place she could have gone was the mirror world, and that actually happened to be the case. And I guess for 11 or 12 hours as well, she's been chasing around Broper and Carrot. So I'm sure a lot of Whole Cake Island residents were in shock to find a reindeer dog and a rabbit running around inside their mirror. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen inside the mirror world, how exactly they're going to beat Brûlé, or then eventually, you know, get to where they want to go. But this is just another example of the Straw Hats getting delayed by several hours. So I have a feeling that the Straw Hats really aren't meant to intervene in the story until the actual wedding takes place, or perhaps this exchange of gifts that keeps getting mentioned, probably after that, but it's very unclear. But basically what Oda is doing right now is preventing the Straw Hats from making a scene until the right moment. The dramatic entrance is looming. And so we're finally getting into the meat of this arc, and again it was revealed that this exchange of a gifts that's going to happen between the Vinsmokes and the Big Mom Pirates is a big deal. It's a huge plot point. Something is going to happen. And if you've seen my theory regarding this, I think that it is going to in some way involve the exchange of the Tamatabako box from Fishman Island, the exploding box. And the fact that this has been revealed again in this chapter, I'm really getting hyped for this moment. I really hope that that ends up happening, or something really cool. And so the last major thing that I want to talk about is the Vinsmoke. So first things first, Reiju basically said that Sanji has used up the goodwill that she has for now, that she doesn't plan on helping him anymore. Which is fine, this is something that I expect. Reiju is still a Vinsmoke, and while she might like Sanji and would prefer that he had never arrived in the first place, she still has her allegiances where they are. So, you know, we shouldn't expect her to outright help out the Straw Hats at this point in time in the story yet. But again, I still do believe her to be a friend in the long term. She can still fight someone. She can still fight against Sanji or anyone who, you know, threatens the Vinsmoke. But at the end of the day, she is a good person, and that's really all I care about Reiju right now. And so we saw a little bit more of the Vinsmoke technology this chapter. And honestly, how Oda decided to draw it kind of confuses me. You have this mask which apparently stops the healing processes and prevents things like inflammation, etc., which actually help in healing people when they get injured, which is why your face gets puffy. But there's like lightning and stuff used to describe this happening, this change happening. And again, I noticed something that I missed before, which is that the Vinsmoke emblem also has the lightning sign on it. Judge Vinsmoke uses lightning on his leg. Niji, specifically the one sun that we've seen his power so far, also uses electricity. So I'm actually starting to doubt some of my initial thoughts on the Vinsmoke, and I'm wondering if they just have some sort of mastery over, you know, electricity in some way. And lastly, yeah, I lied, sorry guys. Lastly, one thing that I forgot is that it is also revealed explicitly in this chapter why Sanji has his chivalry. And so a lot of people after the last chapter thought that it was because the only real people that showed him any love in his past were females, in Reiju and his mother. And so a lot of people use this to say, well, that's why he's chivalrous, but it was actually because of Zeph. That was a moral or a lesson that Zeph had and gave to Sanji. So honestly, I felt like this answer was kind of just thrown in there. You could have included this at any point in time in the past, and it would have had equal significance, given that it has nothing to do with the Vinsmoke whatsoever and everything to do with Zeph, but still, I'm satisfied. Plot hole filled. So yeah, guys, I thought this was a really good chapter, and although the Cracker fight ended abruptly, and for many people I think could be considered kind of anticlimactic in many ways, it still had to happen. There's a lot more fighting left to be done in Whole Cake Island, and we just had to move past Cracker while still maintaining the ability to fight other people afterwards, and Luffy has done that. So now we can finally actually get into really the main conflict of the arc, which I think is going to happen in the next few chapters. But we'll just have to wait and see. Let me know what you think about this chapter. Let me know if you noticed anything from the chapter that I missed, and include it in the comments section. Like the video if you liked the video. I'd appreciate it if you subscribed, and as always, dudes, have a wonderful day.